It is 6 p.m. and I'd like to call to order the July 24th, 2023 regular board meeting of the Woodford County Board of Education. We are here at Safe Harbor Academy in Versailles. For roll call, I'd like to note that we have all members present and in person. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in the corner. We don't have a student this time, so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So it's a brand new school year. Before we get too deep into the agenda, I just had a little sort of opening comments that I wanted to pass along to everybody just for the start of what will definitely be a successful school year for us. As we begin an exciting new school year, I do want to set the tone for upcoming meetings so that we can focus on ensuring Woodford County Schools is a place where kids win. To accomplish this, we want to stay in our lane, so to speak, by being a board that adheres to the responsibilities set out in KRS 160.290 while allowing Superintendent Adkins and his team to perform their duties as required in KRS 160.370. Board members are reminded that we are all bound by certain ethical standards as published by the Kentucky School Boards Association. Among those are to be fair, just, and impartial in all of the decisions as a school board member, come to every meeting prepared for the work to be undertaken at that session, accord other members, parents, and the community with respect, uphold all laws, regulations, and final court orders pertaining to school and related processes, respect the professional expertise of district staff in the management of our schools, listen to other points of view with an open mind, pursue opportunities to improve knowledge of educational issues and board skills, refuse to surrender our judgment to any individual or group at the expense of the district, keep confidential any information that's privileged under Kentucky law or board policy, recognize the scope of our role as board members and that of the board as a whole, work collaboratively with fellow board members to adopt and apply board policies, refrain from actions which could encroach on the assigned responsibilities of school personnel, avoid conflict of interest as well as any public appearances of conflicts with my office, express my personal opinion, but on final board approval, final board action, accept the will of the majority. To close, I know we're all here for the same reason. We want to make this district the best and with the most educational opportunities available. And I look forward to working with every single one of you around the table, in the audience, whoever might be watching us, the one or two people in July watching a school board meeting. Looking forward to working with all of you. So thank you. With that, we will go into the agenda, and we will start with proposed amendments to the agenda. So one of the things that we're trying to do with this school year is to adhere more towards a really productive, collaborative, helpful, and positive board meeting that is going to move at a good pace and get everybody everything that they need. So this will be the time at the proposed amendments to the agenda that any changes to the agenda will be asked. So with that, are there any proposed amendments to the agenda? Okay. Hearing none. Okay, hearing none. Then we'll move into the superintendent's report. We'll start with Mr. Adkins and the superintendent remarks.
Sure. So we had, great to have everybody here, first of all. Excited to hear what Clay has to say about the new high school because it is rolling right now. The weather's going to cooperate this week, so it's exciting to see. But we want to also welcome our two new attorneys, or our new attorney firm, Mr. Eric Farris and Don. Sorry, Don. Don Morgan. Yeah. So we want to welcome you guys and congratulations on being selected by the board, and we're certainly glad to have you. With that being said, we'll start with, as you pulled into the parking lot, you saw some new fencing and some new signage here at Safe Harbor, and that is based on a recommendation from our Kentucky Council Safe School Audit. Mr. Culbertson likes to request those almost every year. He's going to share them with everybody else for a little bit, but he does that, and we try to do a good job of making our recommendations, and he does a great job of following up with that. So if you'll notice the new fencing and the new signage, that was upon their recommendation. Our opening day, we've been pushing really hard towards that. Every board member should have a T-shirt on your chair. We ask that you wear that to opening day. We hope to have almost 700 staff members there with that same T-shirt on. And if you'll notice the big letters on the back, riding the wave of success. And we've got all of our, pretty neat little design. We've got all of our mascots on there, and it is a beach scene. So we'll probably have a small beach theme at opening day. We're excited to see that. So we've been working tirelessly with that. We have a pretty good program planned. I know one of our concerns from our staff is sitting on the bleachers. And I sat on the bleachers last year for about 30 minutes while our speaker had the floor. And I will say for 2.5 to 3 hours, it is very uncomfortable. So we have tried to change that. We have soft chairs that we'll use at the middle school. Hopefully 700 to 800 of those out, 650 to 750 out. And the setup's going to be a little different than what we're used to. Ms. Quire wanted to use the middle school this year simply because of a much updated kitchen, because we do provide a big breakfast. So we're excited about that and having everybody show up for the breakfast. We just released our senior podcast breakfast episode, and it was a lot of fun. We just kind of grabbed kids as they came through the line, and just it's great. One of the students that had a chance to talk to was of Spanish heritage, and he spoke on making his family proud. And hearing that student speak on that, it's that's what we do. That's why we do this. So it was just awesome to hear him talk about his graduation and his family being proud. Shout out to Miss Tracy Francis and Jenny Hayes for a presentation last week down at the CTE conference, the statewide CTE conference, I might add, with the Kentucky Department of Education and the special ed department there, about our Action and Purpose grant. And we were very successful with that. And I told Josh, when we watched the presentation, would it be odd for us to ask who won? But they touched on that before it was over with, so we wanted everybody to know that we kind of pulled that one off. But did a great job, guys, and I think everybody was very, very pleased. And it touches on every level of our Portrait of a Learner. So with the meeting that Mr. Asher and Ms. Tracy and I had last week with our Deeper Learning team, we feel like that's a good opportunity, not to give away too many secrets, but to open some things up with these folks. So we're excited about that. Portrait of a Learner. We will unveil that tomorrow to our staff, so our admins actually. So we're excited to do that. We've done a little branding with that, and Ms. Tracy's done a great job. Ms. Bailey getting ready to pick up some of that too. So we're very excited because this will affect education in Woodford County for the next 30 years. So we're excited. It is the future of education. It's what the commissioner had in mind when he first came to Kentucky, when he started his statewide listening tour. So that's kind of the national level. We feel like this is the way education is trending. So thank everybody for all their work. And that's probably enough. I could go on and on about the great things going on, but I will turn it over and let Ms. McHale get back to her business.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. The next item on the agenda is our good news report. Who wants to start? Go ahead, Ms. Springate, you may start.
I'm going to do an easy one that I know everybody has on their list. It is the pizza party and school supplies giveaway at Simmons on Tuesday, the 25th, from 5 to 6:30, and everything is free. So I wanted to do that one because it's that time of the year.
Mr. Brickler?
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I'm just excited for school to start back up and everyone get in the swing of things. I know our new student representative isn't here today. He's at GSP, but congratulations to Connor Brumley for winning that election and getting to join us on these meetings for the next year.
Thank you. Ms. Glass?
I wanted to share the opportunity with our partnership with Cumberland Family Medical. We're offering sports physicals on the 26th from 9 to 2 at WCMS. Just take your insurance card, and I think that's a great opportunity for our students. It's a busy time to try to get into the doctor's office, but we have to have those physicals. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that on the 26th from 9 to 2.
Great, thank you. Ms. McCowan?
I've just got a couple of things. The first is just kind of a thank you and a farewell to Walker Terhune. His last day as our district athletic trainer was earlier this month, the first part of July. And he's just been such a valuable resource to so many people in this community. So he's probably not watching, but farewell to Walker. And I'm very grateful and thankful for all of his service, all of his years of service. The last thing is that Unity in the Community will be taking place on Friday, August the 4th. It's at 6 o'clock at Falling Springs. Bring a lawn chair. There will be food. And this is sponsored by the FCA and Bug Brown. So if you're not busy, please come out.
Great, thank you, Ms. McCowan. The only thing that I have for today is I wanted to pass along information on the backpack program that Woodford County has, and this is the food backpack program. So there are multiple food drives happening throughout the county. The one that I wanted to touch on is the Girl Scouts are having a food drive that will benefit the backpack program, and again, that's the program that allows us to provide about 350 students every week a backpack of food to take home with them for food insecure children. So what they're looking for, and this would go for any contribution to those backpacks, are really sort of shelf-stable food. So think of like shelf-stable milk, prepared ravioli, soup, ramen noodles, macaroni and cheese, Pop-Tarts, things like that. They said it should be single servings, easy to open, and require no cooking other than a microwave, because these are for younger kids. So that's a great opportunity. And Laura Dake, who's a supporter of this program, said that she would be willing to even come to district office and pick up any donations if anybody wanted to collect there. Otherwise, 5 to 7 outside Kroger on Thursday and Friday. And then the only other thing was just to wish our outgoing seniors who graduated last month, we haven't forgotten about you yet. Good luck as you've started your jobs, any sort of continuing education and college, and to all those parents who are saying goodbye to their kiddos this summer. Next on the agenda is our high school update. So Mr. Ratliff, I think this is the podium today.
All right, as Mr. Atkins said, things are moving along quickly out there. If you've driven by in the last month or two, you can see a huge difference. We've had a lot more rain in the last month or two than we'd previously had, but that doesn't take a whole lot because we'd had a very dry spring. Other than site work, it slows it down, it creates a muddy environment, but it's not really, we account for so many days a month anyway for rain, so it's not knocked us too far off track. If you've driven by later in the evening, sometimes weekends we have people working. So we try to make up the time we lose. So starting to see a lot of changes. These are getting lengthier. I try to provide you all with as many pictures to kind of give you a glimpse on the inside of what's going on, because you can only see a small percentage from the highway. Oh. There we go. So same slide as always. The total project cost is a little over $73 million. The construction cost is right under $61 million. The paid to date, and that's through June, so there will be another billing coming shortly, which the paid to date through June is a little over $17 million, and that's 28% of the total billing. The next pay app will, I'm sure, put us well over 30%. The revised substantial completion date has not changed from last time. It is still November 4th of '24. This would be the same as last time too. This is total of 6 change orders, and you still have right under 76% of your contingency remaining. Same as always, this is just kind of the path we're moving to go along with the next slides. Here is a side-by-side comparison of May to July. You can't hardly tell the magnitude because a lot of it's going vertical, but you can see a lot of differences. And you'll see more up-close pictures in the following slides. Progress the past 30 days, the storm shelter foundations are now 80% complete. And that's to the left of the auditorium here is your storm shelter. Poured the Area F second floor slab, and that's the slab spanning right through here. Oh, this thing's touchy. Area E second floor joist and decking is completed. That's this area here, and as you can see, the slab is poured as well. Completed the underslab MEPs at Area D, which is here. That's like your cafeteria and your main corridor to your gym entry. So that concrete's poured as well, which is the next completed Area D slab. Continued CMU installation at Area D. You'll see this CMU around your admin area. There's a firewall going through here, and this is from several days ago, and you'll see walls going vertically in this area here as well. Completed the second floor slab at Area E, which is this area here. Area E underslab MEPs are completed. Grading at faculty student parking lot is ongoing. Commenced Z-furring spray foam at Area C. Commenced lightweight insulating concrete installation at Area C roof. That's the roof you're looking at there. If you look at E, that's your second floor slab. So this is a floor taller at C, and they've started putting on the roof in that area. Light gauge metal trusses at Area F. That's over where your gables are in your media center. And you see those big trusses that have went up. That's this area here. Began installation of underslab MEPs at the gymnasium and storm shelter. And that's this area here that's not poured. MEP rough-in is ongoing at Area C, first and second floor, and Area E, first floor. And that's inside what you can't see from the aerial, but we got some pictures for you following this. And then site grading and storm drainage is ongoing. That'll be ongoing till fall. You know, it'll look neat and smooth, and you'll see your roads and your landscape areas and everything by fall. So it's a large site with a lot of rock, and that's going to be continually ongoing. In the next 30 days, we plan to pour the perimeter of the gym. That's like your weight room, your locker room area. It's kind of like a horseshoe that goes around the center of the gym floor. We'll be pouring that on Wednesday. We'll pour the second floor slab of Area D on August 3rd, which is right in this area. We'll pour the center of the gym, the actual gym floor, on August 10th. Complete underslab MEPs in the auditorium area. Complete second floor CMU at E-Wing. It'll go up the same height as Area C so we can get a roof on it. Continue spray foam at C-Wing, and you'll see some pictures of that coming up. Commence brick veneer at C-Wing. Spray foam has to go on, and then they'll immediately start putting stone veneer and brick veneer. Continue MEP rough-in at Area C, E, F, and D. Complete grading and stone placement at the student faculty parking, which is the big parking lots over in here. And continue storm drainage installation. So there's kind of a lower aerial where you can see how vertical the building has gone. And that's the back of C-Wing. That's your ag shop on the left. That's where you'll see the spray foam. Eventually, the majority of the entire building's going to look like that. It'll have spray foam, and then brick will follow shortly after that. There's another up close of the roof going on at C-Wing and the ag shop. There's the Area E second floor slab and the media center trusses. There's an overview of the area, that's the media center, kind of looking down into the media center and your culinary areas going up to your admin area. That's kind of just a good view of all 4 portions of the building. These will be the slabs we're pouring in the next few weeks at the gym and the auditorium. That's your kitchen. That slab was just poured last week. So another view of looking into Area F and the media center. Here's kind of what you can't see. There's like the gang restrooms in the C wing. That'll be a boys and girls restroom. That's the center chase where you see all that plumbing. You can see all the ductwork and the electrical and plumbing running above ceiling. And then there's just a set of the stairs that go from first to second floor, and that's at the far end of C wing. Those are installed. It's another glimpse. That's your first and second floor of C wing. There will be metal decking, steel and metal decking that goes into there, and the slab will continue. And then you can see the metal stud framing has started in C wing. That's all for the building. Short track and field update. As you can see, the perimeter drainage is installed. That's the main trunk lines around the track and field. The rough grading is completed. You can kind of see this is your track and it's on grade, and then your field's on grade. And that's where we're getting hurt by weather right now. It rains every few days. It takes several days to dry, and it's kind of pointless to get in there and work when it'll do more damage than good. So we've got a good dry window coming up this week, so work will continue on there. But that's been the biggest impact. But again, it's not going to take near as long as the rest of the building is to complete, so there's no concern there. We do have the relocation of the throwing events where they're being proposed to move them from inside the track to outside. That PR is out, and we're working with contractors on pricing. So at the next board meeting, I would anticipate that we will have that to you for review. Here is the schedule. Again, it's very lengthy. Feel free to go through it anytime. I don't think you want me to read through every single line item, but we are still tracking to be done on time. Again, I always say that that's where we want to be, but we got a long way to go, so there is no concern at this point that we will not accomplish it by substantial completion. So we've got a good crew. People are working hard, and we're real happy with where we're at.
Oh, can you put
yep,
your
go ahead. Go ahead.
put your mic on?
Thank you. I sound noisy to myself and didn't realize my mic was off. So I guess now with the revised substantial completion date being 11/4 and the final revised completion date being 12/4, I just wanted to see what sort of plans we have for the move, what kind of timeline, what we're anticipating.
Sure. We had, Mr. Wells and I had discussed a possible looking at maybe that week, if things were ready by Thanksgiving, doing an entire week next year, a break for Thanksgiving break and trying to get moved at that point. It looks like we should be able to. The worst case scenario would be to address it at Christmas break, which is 2 weeks. Worst case scenario, we should be able to move on forward there at Christmas break. So as the time gets closer, and we get a more hammered out timeline for sure, because this is still just a projection, we'll make plans. Mr. Wells, typically when do you do the calendar for next year? Starts in what, February?
Well, we'll approve it probably December, January.
Yeah. We'll know a little more. Yeah, we'll know a little more by that time. Like I said, worst case scenario, we're in there at Christmas. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to thank you for the pictures. It's so helpful because you can see so much from the road, but the drone photos really are helpful, and so thank you for doing that.
Yep. Great progress. Very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ralph.
Okay, moving on then, we'll go to our Safe Harbor Academy presentation with Mr. Culbertson. Thank you for having us this month.
All righty, can everybody hear me okay? I think it's on. All right, first off, welcome to Safe Harbor Academy. I'm Logan Culbertson, principal of Safe Harbor, also coordinator of alternative programs. And before we kind of jump into the presentation, first off, thank you so much for your support for district, regardless of which department, from superintendent's office to communication to technology. C&I, you fill in the blank. We couldn't do this without a joint effort. So first and foremost, thank you for your service. Thank you for the opportunity to serve, first and foremost. Before we jump into Safe Harbor specific, I want to touch base about the alternative programs. And if you can see some of the folks here, that's part of our core crew. But before I jump into that specifically, I want to talk about the night school wave and GED folks. So Scott Ellis is our night school wave coordinator. He works with teachers from the high school in addition to teachers from Safe Harbor. And so they find individualized career pathways and ways to serve students, whether they're partially virtual or partially in school. And so they're creating opportunities, trying to knock down some barriers. So I want to give a shout out to them. The Frisk ladies, you're looking at Angela Reed, Deanne Watts, Celine Galvin, Mallory White, and Jasmine Hazelwood. And so these ladies are, again, part of the alternative program in terms of they're breaking down barriers. If there's something that is an obstacle or a barrier, they're finding ways to support within those parameters. So I want to shout out to them as well. And also School Within a School at the middle school and high school. These are two folks that, Jerome Brown and Mary Drake, that serve differently. It's a credit recovery function at the high school, but a School Within a School or a transitional function at the middle school. And so, again, folks that are part of the extended team, and so want to give a shout out and thank you for all their service and work. Oops. There we go. All righty, so before we jump in, one of the ways that we achieve a lot of our structure is through our MTSS process. One of our big partners is Life Adventure Center. And so in the past, 6-7 years, we have been able to integrate Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 partnerships with Life Adventure Center. I believe that's being spread out to elementaries, middle, and high in different capacities. And so you can see some of the things we do in terms of putting students outside their comfort zone and providing an opportunity, one, to work as a team in a positive environment, but also to experience some things that frankly carry over to the classroom, carry over to different environments. And so I want to give a shout out to Life Adventure Center as well. Safe Harbor Academy, in partnership with young adults, families, and community, will prepare all students to strive for excellence through rigorous instruction and support to become college, career, and life-ready citizens. We do this through a variety of ways. Our culture is safe, respectful, and responsible. Again, we use our MTSS and database decision-making to do so, and making sure that we're focusing and integrating 21st century skills in all our courses. In the past, we've had a discovery program, and this is an academic behavioral function where we're going by and we're teaching expectations. These are the categories in which we really focus on. We don't have an academic class like it was integrated in the past, but we've integrated this into our mentor program or our Lighthouse program for this year moving forward. Safe Harbor Academy has high expectations and rigorous instruction. We have several different functions. We want to serve all students, middle and high, no matter the route that we came to know each other, whether it's a placement or an application. We want to make sure folks have a smooth transition, as well as have an individualized pathway to serve each individual's personal goals as well as career aspirations as well. Here's our flow chart, and if You may have seen this in the past, but this hasn't changed a lot. We have pathways from middle and high, and so that may come through a variety of ways, whether it's an application or a placement for the high school. Middle school will be placement. We have students that transition through night school wave to Safe Harbor. Sometimes folks stay till graduation, or they may decide they want to transition back in a partial or a full capacity as well. So, again, here are our pathways. You've got application base for 9 through 12. That's for night school wave, as well as Safe Harbor Academy. For placement for grades 6 through 12. We have options just like the high school in terms of co-op, tech school. We've got a virtual option as well for unique scenarios, and we try to integrate whether you're transitioning to college or transitioning to apprenticeship. Want to make sure we're linking up and providing that handshake for whatever that individual interest is. So, here are our direct talk courses for high school. Middle school is computer-based and through Edgenuity. We have created some elective core instruction options for middle and high, and so believe that the more direct instruction that we can provide for students, the better. And so we try to find different pathways to create those opportunities. As I'm going along, if you have questions or you see something, then please stop me at any time. We have project-based learning initiatives as well. Landscaping, outdoor classroom, we've had aquaponics, we've had an outdoor garden, community garden. And so if there's a need or there's an idea or there's a way that we can integrate into project-based learning for a direct instruction course or an elective, then we try to find those ways and find a way to make those occur. So, some of our accomplishments. We've got, and collaborations for that matter, do a lot of collaboration with the Kentucky Registered Apprenticeships. We have project-based learning, which we just kind of discussed, have a liaison program as needed for our core instructors to make sure that, one, that we're providing the same essential skills and standards as you're going to see at the high school, and to make sure that we're on the same page for if a student has a transition, we want to make sure we're on the same scope, sequence, as well as kind of time frame for those transitions. Here's our priority plan for this past year and for moving forward. Again, focusing on collaborative learning structures. We have a Tier 3 reading intervention that we integrate as well within our schedule. Our big rocks align with district big rocks, and those being PLCs, focusing on student engagement, multi-tiered service systems of supports, as well as mental health and wellness. We, like all environments, work to break down obstacles, barriers, find ways forward. And so we will continue to work to try to change the hearts and minds of misperceptions, as well as trying to provide opportunities so that we see ourselves and our students see ourselves in success to be able to find what is going to work best and what we're most interested in. Here are some of our highlights, and this is the most important part of anything I'm here to talk about, and that's our students, our young adults. That's why we're here. Having the opportunity to serve, to meet our young adults where they are, is the name of the game. That's why we're here. We couldn't do that without our fantastic faculty and staff. And as I'm kind of flipping through these pictures, you'll see some pictures of Life Adventure Center, putting students and staff in opportunities to live outside their individual comfort zones, their group comfort zones. These opportunities provide us to build relationships in a different way than the traditional classroom environment. So once these opportunities have occurred, then that transcends environments. It doesn't matter whether it's classroom, work environment, or out at LEC on a field trip. A few other, something I didn't talk about was not project-based learning, but the service learning projects. And so we've partnered with Huntertown Interpretive Park, and so try to provide some opportunities as well, again, to have some experience and serve and pay it forward. So here's a lot of our young adults doing either, again, project-based learning, some collaboration with Life Adventure Center on campus as well as off campus. engaging in the classroom as well as building relationships. You can see a couple students on break and a couple other students doing some art that's integrated for one of our elective taught courses. A couple of our students of the month, our Huntertown Interpretive Park collaboration as well. And all this couldn't be done without those folks on that picture right there. You've got Stephen Powers, our math teacher, Sarah Patton, our science teacher. You've got Samantha Schweitzer, our instructional assistant. Jim Brown does special ed, also teaches some of our social studies courses. And Matthew Houghton, who is our English teacher. Folks not pictured, Laverne Carter, instructional assistant as well. Michael Fortney, our SRO, Taya Rediker, who comes and supports for breakfast and lunch, among many others. And all the folks that are sitting to my right and left behind me give us the opportunity to make this happen and to be able to serve kids each and every day. So thank you for the opportunity. Would love to have you anytime, breakfast, lunch, pop up, call, don't call. We'd love to see you anytime. Thank you for providing us the opportunity to serve kids differently and to meet them where they are each day.
Thank you, Mr. Culbertson. Any questions or comments for Mr. Culbertson?
I have one question and one comment, but anybody else can feel free to go first.
Go ahead, we can start on your end.
Start this way and go around. Have you had any waiting lists for your short-term or long-term programs?
We have had waiting lists in the past. Currently, sorry, must have been too close. There we go. Currently, everyone who has applied has been screened and has a plan forward. And so, I don't know if that answered your question completely or not.
It does, it does. I just want to make sure that, we're having enough staff if we need to look at that. I know things are different with staffing formulas and how we do it, but Safe Harbor is just kind of a little bit different, and with all the programs are different, so I just wanted to kind of double check and ask about that. And then the other thing I would say is just congratulations. I saw you at graduation handing out some diplomas, and couldn't be more proud of the work that you all do here, so please pass along my congratulations to staff too.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Brickler?
Yeah, comment for me too. You guys are doing amazing work. I know it's challenging, rewarding, impactful, and I love the project-based learning. I love that you get out of the building and do different things because that's going to be so important in so many areas of everybody's life. So thank you for thinking outside the box, not making it just a normal experience and really stretching. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's, again, all the credit goes to our young adults as well as our squad. They come every day, put in the work, come with a positive attitude, and try to meet each other where we are.
That's great.
And thank you also. I think this is a great example of how the public school system here in Woodford County supports not just the kids, but adults in the community. And with the Nightwave program and all the different ways that we're supporting everybody in the community. I think one thing I've learned as I get more involved with organizations that support kids is the more one-on-one, good, positive role models that we can have intervening and supporting and really cheering some of these kids and even adults on is more important sometimes than even the reading, writing, and everything else. So I appreciate it. I think I've heard from other districts with some other organizations I work with, and we're pretty unique, I would say, in Central Kentucky. Are there any other districts that offer this type of segregated, integrated learning environment?
So yes and yes. There are alternative schools. They're all different. They all share some similarities. And trying to remember how many years ago. It was 5-6 years ago. We went and did a tour around. Has it been that long? Do you remember? Oh, okay. So it's we went and visited 14 different alternative programs across the state. and tried to find ways and systems and processes, procedures, try to see what everyone else was doing to see what would work best here. And so to answer your question, yes, there are other alternative programs. They all are different than the other and have different strengths and abilities to support. And so we change every year, and so that's kind of part of that as well. Change is the constant, and it's a good thing.
And maybe following up on Ms. Springate's question, do we ever get students from other counties that want to go to Safe Harbor?
So we have students that transition in, and so when students transition to Woodford County, we're going to look at their data, academic behavior, all those different pieces, and we always try to make sure that it's a smooth transition. So there are some times where students will transition to us, then there are other times where they'll transition to the middle or high, depending upon individual scenarios.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to add from your presentation, you talk about how I love that you guys recognize that all kids come to you with the different obstacles. And I think it's great that you guys are able to, like you said, change their hearts and minds and meet them where they are. I think that kind of takes a little bit of the stigma away from an alternate school, you know, and just really makes them feel part of a community and that you guys are willing. It's evident by your pictures. Also, like Ms. Springate said, I mean, at graduation, when you give your kids your diplomas, they give you huge, big hugs. So it's obvious that what you guys are doing here is working. And I just appreciate everything you all do. And also heard you all were getting Mr. Wade from Northside. So you are getting a good one there. He likes a lot of glitter.
That's good to know. And yes, we're thrilled to have Mr. Slama, who joined us the past couple of weeks. And he's jumping in feet first, and so excited to have him as well.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for all that you do. I've known you since SBDM days back at the middle school 10 or so years ago. But you have always been someone that's very caring, and I think that the relationships that you build with your students and with their families speaks volumes to the kind of success that we're experiencing at Safe Harbor. So thank you just for loving kids and for loving students and for developing those relationships, and please thank your staff as well.
Thank you very much, and we're thankful for the opportunity to serve.
Mr. Adkins?
Just proud of the work you do, Mr. Culbertson, you and your staff together. Again, the big piece is meeting those students where they're at and formulating a plan for them to be successful, and seeing you at graduation and your interaction with them at that point ensures that they know you love them, they know you're there for them, and you're there for their success. So it's just a great program. Thank you for the work you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on now, we have our instructional equity report with Mr. Asher.
Good evening. No presentation or anything. I didn't print this, so I need this for my notes. I usually provide some sort of countdown or count up, so this one may scare you folks, but we have 10 business days until opening day, believe it or not. Yes. So speaking of opening day, and Mr. Atkins alluded to some of this, so besides the annual excitement of opening the year, we're particularly excited about our Portrait of a Learner. Our Deeper Learning team, who I've spoken a lot about over this past year, as Mr. Atkins mentioned, met last week, and feel like we have a really good plan to roll this out as on opening day as one of our district big rocks, our most important big rock. And really what we're trying to focus on is the why we are doing this, but also the how. Because one of the newer members of the team said, I went through a draft presentation. He's like, it feels abstract, so how do we make it concrete so people can have a better understanding? And by the end of that 2-hour lunch meeting, we had a really solid plan. So excited about their input on it, their involvement in it, and just really pumped to roll the whole thing out. Hope you can join us on that day. If you can't, I certainly will be repeating some of it at an August board meeting to give you a little bit more idea of what, specifically the how piece of it and what it looks like in our classrooms and throughout our schools. Leading up to that, these next 10 days, very important in terms of planning and preparation. As you probably know, we go on our administrative retreat here tomorrow Wednesday, and Wednesday, and that leads into the CASA conference, which many of us will go to. Really, this is an opportunity, as I told, everyone will be there, maintenance and food service. This is the one time a year we have that entire group together, all school administration, all department heads, so on and so forth. So it's a great opportunity to get everyone on the same page and just communicate, collaborate, to have a positive start of the year. Then starting next week, next Monday, our new teacher orientation and the beginning of our new teacher induction program, which we've revamped and put a lot of thought and energy and time into, just to kind of back up to the basics. We've talked about teacher shortages and different avenues of getting teachers hired into our classrooms. So we felt like we needed to back up and start with classroom management very strongly and support them in that area. Once you get the foundation of that and the relationship piece involved in that, then we'll start working more on the instructional strategies. But without that structure in a classroom, it's very hard to get to instruction. So we're excited about that new look to our new teacher induction program. And then also next week, and orientation is part of this, but our second round of Best Practice Academy, where we have a number of items that we're going to be addressing. That also includes some in-house folks that are going to be leading PDs. So looking forward to that to get ready for the school year as well. Want to talk about summer school update. I don't have the overall numbers. I'll have it for you next month as far as credits recovered, particularly at the high school. But it did wrap up last week, our elementary program and middle, I believe. But just some overall numbers, attendance numbers. Our elementary was as high as 163. Now that doesn't mean day in and day out because there's a lot of vacations and other programs going on. But overall, number of heads in a seat or tails in a seat, 163 over the course of the summer. 11 at the middle school, which is good that it's a lower number because that's a grade or credit recovery type program. So that's a positive that they had 11. And then 101 high school students, and particularly to note, at the very end of June, 3 graduates. So they were this close to the finish line at the end of May. They needed that extra month. We had Dr. Sargent put together a graduation ceremony that several of us were able to attend and honor those graduates. And that's the first one I've been able to go to. I think I was out of town last time, but I was really impressed by the audience and the family members and the siblings that all came. It was a graduation, just a little smaller, but it was really good to be a part of that. And then finally, I didn't have this in my notes, but Mr. Culbertson, when he was talking about Life Adventure Center, because this would be hot off the presses, just met with them earlier today to outline plans for the year. They are very supportive of us and vice versa. So they've secured about $15,000 of grant money that they're going to, for our schools and only our schools, to do programming at all 3 levels, as he had mentioned. Kudos to Mr. Culbertson, who's been doing it for several years and a little more intensive than we have at the other levels. But it's last year we were able to do it because they first started the grant about halfway through last year. But now, having the full year to work on this, we've got a really good plan in place. It's basically going to involve identified students being able to both receive what are called mobile units, where they go out to the school to do different programming with them, but then also go on site to LAC to challenge themselves and to do rock climbing walls and zip lining and things like that. Challenge themselves. Kids who don't have those types of experiences readily available, but also a major part of it. When we did at Northside, it's self-regulation, it's resiliency, it's those type of skills that doing something like that is so much more impactful outside of a classroom, right? To put it to a real-world experience like that. So greatly, greatly appreciate Life Adventure Center and their support of our schools. Finally, on equity, I don't have a major update as we haven't really had any meetings or progress through the month of July. I was able to meet with Dr. Banks, who basically is as needed. She will, I think you probably recall we did some school rounds last year. We intend to do that again, and so she's on call to help us with that. But overall, and she agreed with this, we really built the capacity to lead that equity work in our district, and we just hope to continue it. I left off, and I reported on this in June, recruiting new members, getting new ideas for action plan, and as you recall, WEEF supporting that to give them some financial resources to use towards that. So we'll continue down that path next year. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Start. Sure, anybody?
Thank you.
Any questions? Ms. Springate?
I just have a few questions, and Mr. Wells may be the one to answer this, but do you know about how many new teachers, new staff members we have this year?
Do you know off the top of your head? I got a list right here. If I'm just scrolling through, I'm just looking at a spreadsheet by number where I've got 59 on this. Now, that may involve, I see a familiar face here, so maybe they changed to a different position. Mr. Wells, anything closer than 59?
I would just be ballparking a number tonight. That doesn't sound far off.
So we're mid-50s, I'd say.
What about staff?
Oh, this is certified. I actually have a classified. What do you know?
Yeah, sorry to say, you can get back. I just wondered when he mentioned the new teacher training, it just jogged.
38 on the classified list.
Perfect. And I guess, Mr. Atkins, this was for you. Was summer school fully funded by ESSER this year?
Excuse me?
Was summer school fully funded by ESSER this year?
No, we stayed within. There is it has been. I was still at Northside at the time. I don't. What's the overall budget from district? One something, I feel like. While she's looking that up, another thing I want to mention. May, probably, you approved the MOA with Pearson, and you recall talking about hiring those extra tutors to come in, giving us intervention resources, giving us an assessment platform. It went better than we expected, and honestly did. We made the right move by putting, not putting it all on the teachers, but we had two what were lead interventionists, math and reading, to kind of be the liaison, the facilitator of all that between the outside entity of Pearson and their tutors and our teachers, and it was beautiful. Heather Moffett, she called me. I think I was out of town, and she's like, "Hey, I hope this is okay, but I've lined up training for this. I've got these people coming this." I'm like, "This is perfect. This is exactly what we want." Yes, we can use Pirate Math, it's called, over the course of the school year. And yes, we have all those materials for free. Let's do it. So worked better than we could expect. And Susan and I met with our Pearson rep last week, yes, and signed up to do it again next year, hopefully. So
Great.
Stay tuned. 111 is the district budget? Okay. 111 was the district budget, and that, like I said, I think that's been in there for several years. Okay. So given the fact that you've got June, July, you're working in half of FY23 and then started dipping into FY24 budget line as far as what says summer school.
I'm sorry, it's Monday. So the amount spent by ESSER it was not fully funded by ESSER?
No, it was.
Were any ESSER funds used for it?
Not to my knowledge, I don't
Okay,
think
so
so.
no ESSER funds.
Yeah.
So the district funds were $111?
111,000.
11,000.
$111,000. Okay, yeah,
Split,
it's Monday.
split between the two fiscal years because it took place in June and July.
We draw a breakdown in August. It just finished, and we haven't paid salaries out, so to give you accurate numbers for this year would have been,
Yep.
you would have been like writing down numbers, and they would have been guesstimates.
That's okay. I think Mr. Astor usually provides those when everything kind of
Mm-hmm.
closes out. He usually provides the numbers and the students and the credits. I was just trying to get an idea. I guess I'm confused because I thought we had said that would be funded out of ESSER. Is there a reason it wasn't, Mr. Atkins?
Mr. Smith, did we put money into that fund, 111 fund or whatever, out of ESSER dollars? I'm not even, I typically let Mr. Smith deal with the finances.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go back and look at the meeting and at the ESSER plan, but I believe that was something that was in there, so I appreciate that update.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Mr. Asher.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is our school safety report. Mr. Wells is going to update us on that.
Okay, good evening.
Evening.
You may recall last time we spent our focus on school resource officers, and tonight we thought we would spend our sole focus on just emergency planning. Now, I want to preface that we're not going to get into details. You know, there are certain things about our plans that aren't subject to open records, and so we're not going to get into anything like that. What we want to focus on is just kind of give you the 20,000-foot view of our process, some of the partners that we work with. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Steve, who's going to get more into detail. So, and certainly answer any questions at the end too.
So each year as a district, we are required to have these plans in place and submit them to the state as well as all the first responder agencies here in Woodford County. So the purpose of the plan is to provide guidance to students, staff, and first responders on procedures in regards to critical incidents. Some things we can put out, like it provides critical component information such as gas, electric shutoffs, water supply, HVAC, even things as technical as a medevac, GPS, landing location if we need be. This is key to staff and outside personnel as they may not be familiar with these locations. These are all in our plans. Again, we don't share what's in the plan with the public, but they're there. It's called an all hazards approach. We can't cover everything. We don't have an answer for everything. But these plans are fluid and are continually updated to cover as many types of events as possible. Right now, there's roughly probably 20 different emergency scenarios we provide, such as lockdowns, medical events, biohazards, chemical, mental health crisis, fire, and many others. One reason why I have to update these, just added this year, was our new AED and cardiac response plan, which even requires after-school activities, field trips, et cetera. And I'd like to thank Nurse Kim for helping me getting that together. We'll get that out. It's already in our EOP, which has been sent to all of our staff. Again, each year at the beginning of the school year, these plans have to be reviewed. They're shared with staff and all first responders. SBDM gets a copy. The school admin looks at them each year to make sure these plans are accessible to everybody. We have a paper copy as well as electronic copy through our vendor, Navigate Prepared. That can be shared with staff outside. All our first responders have access to these 24 hours a day. As I mentioned before, these are updated and reviewed annually. And as Mr. Wells said, we're on a nuclear test site facility, but these aren't subject to open records or public disclosure just because there is some sensitive areas in there.
And we do have a system that the district purchased several years ago called Navigate, and we didn't want to get into that too deep tonight, but maybe at a future meeting we can just that'll be the topic, just kind of go over the system that we use and how it works and how we're able to share it with our first responders. So this time we'd open up to any questions if there are any.
So I think this was the quarterly update that we had talked about adding just to our regular agenda every quarter to talk about school safety. So I appreciate the update. I think this is, I mean, when I think of what I was kind of looking for in these, this is pretty much what it would be. So I appreciate the topic. I appreciate the information and completely understand that some of the information is not for public knowledge. So thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for bringing this information. I think it's very helpful. I think hearing something on a regular basis, you know, it just sticks with us and it makes us think about it. So I appreciate that. Is there any opportunity, I know that we've talked before a little bit about how successful the Watchdogs program is at the elementary school. Is there any discussion or any thoughts, any resources, interest available in having something like that at our middle and high schools, like that Dads on Duty program or something similar, just as a supplement, I guess?
Yes, absolutely. We actually had that conversation administratively back in the spring and towards the end of the school year. That assignment, for lack of a better term, was given to our district counselor. And so I know when she gets back from her summer break, That's going to be one of our prime focuses as we return, is getting a similar program up and running at our other schools.
The only question I had was, do you feel like you're fully staffed to meet all the safety needs that you have?
I think we'd always use more people. I think that's everybody's answer, no matter what part of the school system you're in. We are, again, I would say we're fortunate enough that Woodford County is staffed as at least one officer per school for the 5 years I've been here. This will be our 6th year. There are many, many districts who still don't have that luxury of even having one officer yet. My brother is a SRO in Somerset, and he was texting me earlier. I think they're a couple short. I'm from Franklin County. I think they did this, put one in every school, agreed to do it this year. So we're very fortunate. I would always love to have more people, but again, we're just fortunate to have what we have with at least the one in each school for right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that. I think when you look at districts across the state, like, we are in a really, really good spot. Obviously, you know, who wouldn't love to have more? That would be great, but I think we've got a great team, and I think we're well ahead of the curve from the rest of the state.
Perfect. Thank you.
No, I don't really have any questions. I will say I really appreciate all you guys do. I think that the connections and the relationships are just so vital, and I think that really is one of the core values that your team brings to each and every school. I know the elementary school students just absolutely love their SRO. You know, the middle, high school, Safe Harbor, maybe not so much, but I think there are still some really good relationships there, and I know they appreciate having you. The parents appreciate having you, and we certainly appreciate you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Atkins, anything?
Just wanted to touch on the fact that Mr. Rayburn and Mr. Smith and myself have been working on a program to ensure the front doors are locked. We've been allowing visitors into that safety vestibule. Well, with that, looking at some of the things maybe that have happened in other incidences, I feel like the more doors we can lock, the better off we're going to be. So with that front entrance locked, we've got KDC. We're actually using KDC. Their tech team will run cameras and microphones to that front door, so the secretary can interact with the front door. They'll see who's there. They can see if there's any danger, those types of things. So it's just another layer of safety for our students. Mr. Rayburn, is there anything I missed that you may want to touch on? We're hoping to have everything in place, all the microphones in place by August 4th, which will still give us that opportunity to go ahead and then pick up with that as soon as all the cameras are in place as well. We'll follow certain protocols for that.
Did you say that was at all the schools?
That will be at all the schools, yeah.
So the intention is to have that up and running for first day?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, the microphones at least, and probably a majority of the cameras, am I correct, Mr. Rayburn?
And I assume we'll make some sort of announcement to
Yeah.
everybody so that they understand and we don't get people breaking the doors off.
Well, yeah, I think the principals will handle that, like if they're open houses, that type of thing.
Perfect.
That's kind of there.
Okay. Great. All right. Thank you both. Moving on to our public comment. Do we have any public comment today? No? Ms. Cooper's just checking the list, I think, of. None? Okay. There is no public comment, so we will move into the consent agenda. Can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion?
I just would ask the superintendent, is there anything in this long list that you want to bring to our attention or discuss? Anything unusual, different?
Not that I can think of, looking at grants, contracts, those things, or MOAs for student teachers, our donations. It's basic, typical stuff that we've always gone through.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, if it's okay. The first one was around, this is the policies, right?
Yes.
Yes. The first one for the student privacy rights policy, it says it required allowing public comment at an open meeting. So do the public comments that we have here, that meets that requirement, right? There didn't need to be any kind of separate allowance for, we're gonna look at this policy and,
No,
okay.
that covers, in discussion, that covers everything that we've had.
Okay,
And we have discussed that.
perfect. And then in the policy itself, it looked like it was, the verbiage was the statute. So is that policy just the statute verbatim? There's not any kind of bulleted, process or anything like that? I can pull it up.
Yeah, but you're referring to the requirement of 15-minute public comment, is that what you're?
No.
Which one, I'm sorry?
It sounds like that by just allowing public comments at these meetings, that meets that requirement, because that, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
about
to
that.
my knowledge, that's the only
Okay.
requirement, and you're meeting it with what you're doing with your agenda on a regular basis.
Got it. And my other question too was that the way the policy is written, it looks like the statute is cited. So is that all that's needed for that policy? It didn't look like the other policies, so that's just why I asked. It didn't seem like a,
Yeah, KSBA.
Yeah, they have a legal
provides-
team that they write all the policies to adhere to the new legislation. So, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, they worked very hard to meet a high demand after this last General Assembly.
sure,
But they've generated exactly what's needed for every district.
got it. And two, the hiring of the certified personnel, I think that was policy number 03.11. In reading that, does that mean that vacancies must be posted for 15 days minimum?
There is a caveat to that. Once you get within a certain time frame of school starting, you can request a waiver
Right,
through the department. And a lot of those are critical shortages or specific areas of need, then you can request that waiver. They still have to approve it.
sure.
But at one point, it was 30 days until about 3 years ago. You had to run it 30 days. But you could still request that waiver, but now they've backed it off to 15,
Okay.
and you can still request a waiver.
So if it's a non-emergency situation, it should be posted for at least 15 days?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, I mean, and you can still request that, and they can approve or disapprove. Mr. Wells, did you want to touch on something?
One of the waivers that we get in 30 days of the first day of school. So we
Yeah.
are going to have to go now, so 15 days. We still follow the process, we still post with interviews. It doesn't have to be 15 days at this point.
And typically what I've found is when it comes to administrative positions, it's very hard pressed to ask for that waiver. We just kind of don't do that. Even as personnel director, with 1,600 employees, we very seldom ever did that in Pike County. So, but classified in an area where it could interrupt the continuation of learning, then certainly we may try to do that.
And then the only other question I had was about the school fees for WCHS. Are there any changes from last year to this year?
At the high school, I don't think there are changes. Anybody that worked on school fees? Not that I'm aware of either. I didn't think so.
All
I
right.
just didn't want, I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Angel said very similar to last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the pay date schedule, thank you for everybody that's worked on updates to that pay schedule. I know that I've had several folks reach out to me and ask when that might happen. So moving from a monthly payment for folks' compensation to twice a month, basically. I know that takes a lot of work.
Sure, and you know, that's one of the things you have to look at when you have a new teacher straight out of college and they're moving to Central Kentucky or they're having to pick up a rent payment and they're working the entire month of August and they're not getting paid until around the 1st of September for a month. That's difficult. So we have to ease the burden as much as possible. We're not dealing with teachers standing in line to get jobs anymore. It doesn't happen. So if we can ease the burden here in Woodford County, we're certainly going to do that to try to make us an easier sell for employees. But it was highly requested by staff too, so yeah.
Sure. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 5-0. Moving on to the regular agenda, item A, accept notification of personnel matters. Is there a motion to accept notification of personnel matters?
So moved.
That was by Ms. McCowan. Sorry,
Second.
my head was down.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Glass. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Is there a motion to accept notification of payment of bills?
So moved.
It's a motion by Ms. Glass.
Second.
And a second, I think Mr. Brickler got that one. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the June 12th, 2023, 5 PM and 6 PM board meeting?
So moved.
That's a motion by Ms. McCowan,
Second.
a second by Mr. Brickler. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Item D, is there a motion for creation of ETC positions?
So moved.
That's a motion by Ms. Glass
Second.
and a second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion or questions for Ms. Johnson? Nope. Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. And that is the end of our regular agenda. There were no discussion items, and information items have been attached in the agenda. So if there's no other business, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Didn't think so. 5-0. Thank you, everybody.